Operation New Life. I have read countless books on finance and economics, and I have worked for years with the financial elite. As a result, I found one common chord that resonates among those who control vast resources. They don't implement wealth generating habits only when they feel the need to do so. Rather, they habitually live in a state of wealth. In other words, there is more to wealth than just learning about money. Black millionaires repeatedly take certain actions, consistently adhering to routines that allow them to create and maintain considerable wealth. They save, dream, plan, invest, and give in a never-ending cycle. Behind their routines and habits lies a basic core of beliefs, the first of which is that money is plentiful for those who understand the simple laws that govern its acquisition. On November Nelia, 1986, my life forever changed. Though I never met Napoleon Hill, famed author of the seminal classic Think and Grow Rich, I did meet and develop a relationship with his manager and business partner, W. Clement Stone. Stone's slick back hair, bow tie, pencil mustache, and omnipresent cigar marked him as a creature from the roaring 20s. But when I met him in his Chicago office when he was 84 years old, his handshake was vice-like. Stone, a visionary and an icon, was once named the world's wealthiest. Seldom can a single individual affect the lives of an entire generation for the better, not to mention the lives of future generations, but Stone did so. As the founder and president of Combined Insurance Company of America, no one spoke on the subject of wealth and achievement with more authority or experience. Stone was the foremost spiritual descendant of Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Smiles, Orison Swett Marden, and the other giants in the self-help field. During our meeting, he shared a few pearls of wisdom. Asterisk desire is the beginning of all human achievement. Asterisk. When you go for something, don't return until you get it. Asterisk. Success is achieved by those who try. When there's nothing to lose by trying and everything to gain if successful, by all means try. Asterisk. If you cannot save 10% of all that you earn, the seeds of greatness are not in you. Asterisk. Prayer is mankind's greatest powers. Above Stone's desk hung a portrait of George Washington kneeling in prayer before battle, a testament to Stone's lasting belief in the oldest self-help philosophy in the world. I never engage in any action, Stone confessed, without praying for guidance. But the Great Depression hit Stone hard. By 1937, his company's 1,000 employee sales force had shrunk to 135, and he was $28,000 in debt. As fate would have it, he was given a copy of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Stone devoured the book. He distributed copies to his reps and watched company revenues explode. By 1952, Stone had personally earned more than $100 million from his Combined Insurance Company of America. What was in that book? The answer to that question goes back to 1908, when author Napoleon Hill was a 5-year-old magazine reporter. During an interview, steel giant Andrew Carnegie tossed the young journalist a massive challenge. Carnegie promised Hill he would introduce him to the greatest wealth creators of his day, provided the aspiring writer would devote the next 20 years compiling their success secrets into a book. Hill would receive no pay. Moreover, in Carnegie's vest pocket was a stopwatch. He told Hill that an individual who makes fast decisions can be trusted to carry them out. If Hill hesitated more than 60 seconds, the deal was off. For the next 2 decades, while supporting himself through a variety of positions in sales, advertising, education, and public relations, Hill interviewed more than 500 successful men, among them Henry Ford, Charles Goodyear, John D. Rockefeller, George Eastman, Marshall Field, and Thomas Edison. His Law of Success, published in 1928, won worldwide acclaim. However, it was Hill's blockbuster, Think and Grow Rich, published nearly a decade later, that truly hit a nerve in Depression-era America. At last count, this single volume has sold more than 60 million copies. When I met Stone, I was 36 years old, married with 3 small children, and financially at the lowest point of my life. Prior to this encounter, I was one of those men leading a life of quiet desperation. Although I had finished college and graduate school, I was dead broke. I had spent most of our income and every dime of our savings researching and interviewing Black achievers and peak performers for a book that would eventually become what makes the great great. Outside of my writing, life was a living hell for me and my family. It seemed that no matter how hard my wife, Pat, and I worked, We were always in debt up to our eyeballs. But I knew life held so much more. Back in the mid-1980s, in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia, I lived in a nice house on a cul-de-sac overlooking a pristine wooded area surrounded by neighbors who were and are like family. As idyllic as the view was then and still is today, I often found myself dreaming of a different view and a different life, not necessarily a better life, but a richer, fuller one. I wanted to see all that this world has to offer, to know some of the most interesting people, and to experience, learn, and truly grow as an individual. Quite simply, I wanted to succeed, especially spiritually and financially, though I was unsure exactly what success meant. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was about to take a long step into the future. Slowly but surely, word got out about my research. Because there was such an obvious void in the literature, I was asked to write a series of articles about the wealth creators at the center of this study. As fate would have it, one such article found its way onto the pages of Success magazine. Finally, in spite of all the tough years, I was earning a living as a writer. 1 year later, another break came my way. The Napoleon Hill Foundation caught wind of my writings, and, out of the blue, I received Stone's phone call requesting a meeting in his palatial Chicago office. As Carnegie did with Napoleon Hill, Stone not only sought out me, an unknown writer, but he guided my development through his personal philosophy and principles while providing me with the offer of a lifetime to update and complete Hill's final work, a spin-off of his greatest effort, dedicated solely to the economic advancement of Black America. On November 4, 1986, the day I walked into Stone's office, I hoped that he would see my ambition and strong desire to learn and know qualities I knew he admired and valued. My curiosity is perhaps the character trait of which I am most proud. I am and always have been intrigued by those men and women who, by dint of their own talent, creativity, promise, and perseverance, reached impressive goals and objectives and amassed high levels of wealth as a well-deserved byproduct of their accomplishments. Interestingly enough, the most successful people I have met along my journey shared this one critical element: boundless, near insatiable curiosity. When it comes to growth, success, human development, and receiving all that life has to offer, they simply need to know. When Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice, was released in 1991, I set a simple yet achievable goal to turn one-time victims into victors and to transform the least, the last, and the lost into peak-performing, high-achieving men and women. Operation New Life was what Wally Amos, the chocolate chip cookie tycoon, called the moment. You are going to create a new and improved you. Turn the page, Amos urged, and get started on the greatest journey of your life. True success, I added, is guaranteed when each of us discovers our inherent purpose, lives courageously, utilizes our creative gifts, and incorporates integrity into everything we do. To increase the prospects of both prosperity and personal empowerment, I identified 12 surefire principles that would set anyone on to the fast track of success. Along the way, with my follow-up effort, What Makes the Great Great, again through countless interviews with Black America's best and brightest, I've constantly refined and expanded my inquisition to include practical advice as well as pearls of wisdom. We all possess the seeds of greatness, I pointed out. What makes the great great provides the tools to discover and nourish those seeds. As of this writing, I am happy to report that both works have been enthusiastically embraced by people from all walks of life, from private and professional associations to churches, colleges, and the nonprofit sector. And with this book, the message has widened